All right, so I am coming to you today from my house, and my baby kitten says hello, Temple Brutus. And today we're going to talk about two of the tools, Web.20 tools that help with assessment. Kahoot, which I've used a bazillion times before, and Formative. Now, I've used Socrative before and I like it, but there were just a lot of steps in creating the questions when I used it, and it's not one of my favorites. But Kahoot is very, very nice. It allows immediate feedback. It is very interactive. The kids love it. It's totally engaging. They love seeing their scores, uh, positive or negative scores, seeing where they stand in the class. They love competing against each other. Usually, I offer some kind of reward with it for the highest score or the most improved or something like that. I find that this kind of assessment works best with depth of knowledge one, um, or maybe even two, as far as questions are concerned. I always used it for vocabulary, specifically SAT vocabulary for language arts. And I used it in both regular ed and gifted honors and AP classes. So the kids, as I said, totally engaged. They learned their words. They knew that they would have some kind of Kahoot as as a as an assessment before their big assessment on the words. So they use that as kind of like a learning tool to see which words they could remember and see what they if they knew the meaning versus seeing words that maybe they didn't know as well. As I said, I highly recommend it because of its engagement, and it provides them an opportunity to get immediate feedback, which is one thing that the kids are always looking for. I mean, in our digital age, it's almost impossible not to get some kind of immediate response to whatever stimulus we are dealing with at that particular time. So this feeds that need for immediacy and expedience in response and immediate feedback. I don't recommend trying to create the depth of knowledge levels 3 and 4 is impossible with that, really. Uh, Depth of knowledge 3, it gets really tricky because you have to spend so much time creating the questions to get some kind of true feedback of what they're capable of knowing and what they're capable of doing and how they're capable of applying the knowledge that they've gained. And you have to create all the opportunities and all the answers and the responses for them instead of them generating them themselves. So in that regard, it's like probably not as useful if you're trying to use deeper knowledge. Although it is great for what E.D. Hirsch refers to as the building blocks to be able to deal with that knowledge and apply it and move up into the upper levels of Bloom's taxonomy. On the flip side of that is formative, which I was playing around with that and I was like, oh my gosh, it is so fantastic. It really lends itself across the curriculum. So does Kahoot, but I feel like it does a better job because you can do more with it. For example, you can create graphs, you can do problem solving, you can do written responses. The possibilities are kind of endless in what you're able to do. The main drawback of formative, not Socrative, excuse me, but of formative is the fact that it isn't as interactive. It's not as flashy and showy as Kahoot, so the kids don't enjoy it as much. But what it allows you to test them on and the skills that it allows you to see goes much deeper than anything Kahoot can possibly provide for the kids. with the graphs, with the open-ended responses, with um, the written things, the formulas that they can play with. All of those things lend themselves as high as depth of knowledge level 4. And that's what we're really gunning for eventually, in our instruction. So that possibility really is paramount, and it really opens itself great as an assessment tool. And this teacher, professor, instructor can actually use that as a formative or a summative assessment, whereas Kahoot can only be formative. It can't really be summative, and that was never the intent of Kahoot. It was supposed to be interactive and it was supposed to be fun for the kids. Whereas formative can be a formative assessment, hence the name. Um, However, I feel like it could also be summative in the question approach. I feel like it's a safe environment for the kids to play around and learn more and show what they know versus what they need to learn, or whatever gaps that they have in their learning that need to be filled in. I think it's a great tool for teachers because they can sit there and give that immediate feedback, but they can also do a quick assessment on where the student is and redirect and reteach if necessary. So I feel like that it is a very important and very lucrative assessment tool to use in the classroom. On the whole, I like them both. They both have very different uses. As I said, formative isn't nearly as flashy and fun and interesting as far as the kids are concerned. Seeing that immediate feedback and class participation and engagement, but it will help them work on skills that they need to build, or review skills that they need to show mastery over. And the teacher can see that a lot better than seeing that in, say, Kahoot. So I like both of those. Socrative allows some of the same things that formative does. I just don't think it is as user friendly. That's just my personal opinion about it. Otherwise, I would say Socrative belongs in that same group of assessment tools, because at the end of the day, teachers use these tools to inform their instruction. And what better way to inform your instruction than seeing uh, what their immediate knowledge is, what their immediate needs are, and where we can redirect, reteach, and help the student become their best selves. So that's kind of my take on Kahoot and my take on formative. Thank you.